Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action on Pitchside Talk with your host, as always, George. How are you doing? Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. We made it. We got through 2021 and now it's 2022. And we hope it's going to be a much brighter and better year, just in general, but also for a footballing season as well, because it's an exciting year of football we've got coming ahead. And do not worry, we'll be covering all that for you. So if you do miss anything, don't worry, Pitchside Talk will have you covered as always. But who's joined me this week? Well, is our regular co-host as always. He's made it through 2021. He's here in 2022. He signed another season length contract. Dan, I don't really know how it goes. We've signed an extra 12-month extension like Ipswich Town do with their players.
Yeah, that's like the main thing that we do, isn't it now? So yeah, another 12 months. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, it's good to be in the new year now. Hopefully a better year for Ipswich. It's been a terrible last 5 years. Hopefully this is a better one.
Don't you mean a terrible 10 years? I think it's been more than 5, isn't it?
I mean, we've had one good season in the last 10, so yeah.
Oh gosh, those days where Town were actually good and none of us were alive to actually even see it.
Yeah.
We hear about it all the time.
We do.
Apparently it was really good. Hopefully the good days will come back very shortly. But what is coming out in today's show? Well, before I even get to that, I better mention the social medias. Twitter, it's at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to our previous shows, do not worry, they're all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud. So, what is coming up in today's show? Well, we're going to be talking about Ipswich Town versus Wycombe, because Town haven't had a game quite recently due to postponements in the ongoing situation with COVID-19, causing havoc across the league and in football in general. But we'll talk about their last game against Wycombe and Kieran Mckenna's first game in charge as the new Ipswich Town manager, not Neil Harris. Like we said, that was really bad by us. We said Neil Harris, but it turned out to be Kieran Mckenna. And we'll be talking about the Premier League as always. Game week number 21, the first game week of the new year. And I'll tell you something, it went off with a big bang with some very good games we had in store. And we might possibly talk about some transfers as it is now. The transfer window is now open, January transfer window, and clubs are now allowed to sign some players, especially one club that need them very desperately. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich versus Wycombe and how Kieran Mckenna got on in his first game in charge. Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, back for another week of football action in the brand new year of 2022. Happy New Year. If you missed the intro where I said it already, I'm saying it again. Happy New Year once again. And now, before we move on talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there on YouTube and Mixcloud. So, Ipswich Town has been a very, very Christmas period, which has gone and passed now, and we're seeing lots and lots of clubs being very busy with games in quick succession. But if it's Town, it's been a quiet Christmas this time, with 2 of their 3 games cancelled due to COVID-19 outbreaks in the oppositional camp, with the Boxing Day game cancelled against Gillingham and Lincoln City on New Year's Day. But at least Town had one game to play. At least they managed one game to do over the Christmas period, as we saw new boss Kieran Mckenna take charge of his first game in charge of Ipswich Town. Not Neil House, like we reported. I'm so sorry. That was really quite awkward. We talked about Neil House, but it was Kieran Mckenna who shocked all of us. He came in as the new manager as he played his first game against the Wycombe Wanderers in front of 26,000 Ipswich Town fans, eager to see him get off to a winning start at the first time of asking. And well, his reign as Ipswich Town manager begun on the right foot with a win as McKenna's Blues came out on top against Wycombe. Only one goal was the difference on the night, as James Nord was in the right place at the right time. And Dan, what a start by McKenna. 3 points at the first time asking, 26,000 fans in there as well. and a very well done display by Ipswich Town.
Yeah, couldn't have asked for a better start, really, could you? Under McKenna, kind of an appointment that none of us were expecting, and me and you weren't expecting that either, obviously, because of our show about Neil Harris.
Yep.
Yeah, it was quite embarrassing that. But anyway, yeah, not enough talk about Neil Harris. What a start for McKenna, and some really good signs in that first game. I think coming up against Wycombe is always difficult because we know how Wycombe play. They like the dark arts, don't they, really? Wycombe. They kind of like to, time waste a lot of the time and do funny stuff. We've seen a lot of it since playing them in the last 3 seasons, or they had a season in the Championship. But yeah, coming up against Wycombe is always difficult. So we needed the game plan against them, and McKenna's game plan seemed to work. We kind of stopped them from doing the things that they enjoy doing. And we were better than them for most of the game, I'd say. Maybe it was a bit of a stalemate in the second half where, neither team were really doing anything in the final third. But especially the first half, we were playing well, passing the ball around well. McKenna's style of play, we didn't know what to expect. And I think that was our advantage, really. We scored the goal just before half time. James Norwood again scoring that goal, and yeah, we didn't really look like conceding, I don't think, until late on where they should have really scored, but they skied it over the bar. But yeah, it was a good game to watch, a great occasion. The new owners were there as well, or 2 of them at least, to watch McKenna's first win, and long may it continue, because I'm just feeling something good about McKenna. It just seems like he's a good appointment to me. I know some fans were a bit they're a bit meh about what Man United fans were saying, but yeah, we shouldn't listen to them. We should focus on what he needs to do, and if he thinks that this season is salvageable, because I think it's still salvageable, and let's see how it goes. And I'm sure playoffs is the end game, isn't it? Is the final aim. But let's see if we get there, because it's going to be a tough road there, I reckon.
Yeah, but it's interesting what expect the unexpected, and it will be interesting, Dan, because Town are 9 points. Oh no, 9 points. They are 11 points off the playoff places, but they do have 2 games in hand, so that could be playing into their advantage very soon. But before we move on to discuss what he said after the game, I want to ask you a little quick trivia question. So Kieran Mckenna won his first game in charge as Ipswich Town manager, but who's the last one to win his first game in charge as Ipswich Town manager? The first time of asking, who was it?
Well, luckily I know the answer to this.
No.
It was Mick McCarthy, but I couldn't say who it was against. If you were going to ask me that, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Okay,
I just know it was Mick McCarthy.
I'll tell you who it is, because that's what I've done my research. I know who it was against, and I know who scored well, because only one person scored.
All right, okay.
I'll ask you who scored in that game, but it was against Birmingham away. But who was the goal scorer? If you know, no pressure.
God. Well, my first guess would be Michael Chopra.
You're close. I'll say to DJ.
Oh, DJ Campbell, of course. Yeah, he had that really good spell under Mick, didn't he? Yeah, when he was here on loan. Of course.
He scored inside 8 minutes.
Nice.
I'm happy you know this before I have to sort of question it, but at the same time, I'm annoyed you know this, because I know how much you love Mick McCarthy. It just takes a little bit of joy I had away. If I can get you this, and go, oh no, not Mick McCarthy, but
yeah.
At least you didn't know it was against Birmingham. And
no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's the main thing. That's the little bit of pride I'm going to take away from that. But we better focus back on this game, not back in 2012 when Mick McCarthy was here and appointed and all sorts. Let's focus on Kieran Mckenna. And he was full of praise for the fans and his side during his interview, saying it was fantastic. A big thank you to everyone who has received us so well to come in and support us so well on tonight. It's an amazing club for sure. It just the fact that they are here, they really are here with this team, especially in the second half. Those difficult moments when the boys were tired, they gave him a boost. And he just talked about the aspects of the performance. He was really happy with it. We knew it was going to be not going to be a pretty game, but we knew that we'd be playing direct and put balls into our box. But I thought our organisation and tension, attitude, and our resilience to the defending those moments was really, really good. I thought we had a goal threat all night in the first half with some good play, and in the second half on the counter attack. Well, Dan, it was interesting to see how McKenna would line up in this game, and it was really the unknown, like you said earlier on. It was the unknown of not knowing what he's going to do, and he's had a lot of time on that train pitch, unfortunately, because his first game on Boxing Day was cancelled. But he made a little tweak from the Sunderland game to the Wycombe game. Instead of seeing that 3-5-2 that worked quite well against Sunderland, which caused Sunderland a lot of problems, and a lot of Town fans wanted to stay. Instead, he switched to a 3-4-3 with a sort of quite a lot of flowing transition in the creative sort of half, with sort of Aluko playing as sort of a number 10 / right winger, Nord on the left and Bon in the middle. But in those times where they were out of possession, it seemed to go into a compact 5-4-1, which really worked quite well, stopping Wycombe get on those attacks, as sort of reflected in McKenna's comments. But this is interesting. The 3-4-3, that sounds quite attacking, but it's working quite well for Ipswich, the three at the back.
It is, yeah. That kind of came out of nowhere, I guess, because it was McGreal, I guess, that kind of started that, didn't he? Getting away from the 4-2-3-1, which, I'm so glad to see the back of that. I'm telling you, it's so good to see a different formation. But yeah, this formation, it's interesting because it gives you that flexibility, I guess, in all areas of the pitch, really. And I think the main thing that was Paul Cook's downfall was out of possession. I don't think he really had a plan. We didn't really look like we had a plan out of possession. But with McKenna, he's so, well, what I can gather, he's really into the tactical side of the game. I guess he's been on the training pitch for a long time with these players now, and I think he looks into the tactics in really good detail and what the opposition can do. So I think he's really taken into account what we can do off the ball, and that showed, didn't it? We stopped what Wycombe were coming out to do, because football is about. It's not just about scoring goals, it's about doing all of the other simple things right. And hopefully that this formation kind of, one, it suits our players. We have maybe I'd say in the right wing back position we're fine, because I think Danassian and Vincent Young can do that. Left wing back, I wish we had Coulson. I wish he wasn't gone, because I'm not a biggest fan of Penny, but he can do a job. So we've got them two that can join the attacks, and hopefully with some time, because at points in the Wycombe game, I thought that the strikers were a bit isolated and we weren't really getting the ball up to them. But hopefully in time, this formation works well. I guess we started with Norwood kind of playing wider, didn't we, in this one, which is interesting. But yeah. It's a formation that I think is just a bit different, isn't it? It's not a standard formation that you see from just the safe English managers. It's a little bit different with flexibility to do anything really that McKenna wants to do. So yeah, I'm pleased that we're trying this, and let's see how it goes. And I think it gives a bit of more of an unpredictability to us, which we really lacked under Paul Cook. Every team knew what we were going to do.
Yeah, is that sort of down to the fact of Paul Cook was sort of criticised for not having this plan B? This is the big thing a lot of fans noticed. There was no plan B in sort of his style of football. But with McKenna, does it offer the style of there can be a plan B if and when it's required, and it's not going to be a simple stick to plan A. We'll just ride it out. If it all goes wrong, we might lose 5-0 one week, but might win 5-0 the next week. But with McKenna, does it feel like he's got a plan in place for all sorts of scenarios?
Yeah, I hope so, and that's how it comes out to us, I guess. Because with Paul Cook, you just knew he was going to play 4-2-3-1 just every week. You just knew what the game plan was going to be. It worked at times. We had really good wins under Paul Cook at Portsmouth and Wycombe. The 6-0 against Doncaster as well. So it does work at times, but when you come up against good sides in this league, if they know what you're going to do, it's not going to, it's going to be tough to play against them. So McKenna coming in, I think he knows that. I think he's willing to take a risk. I think that's the main thing. He's willing to not play it safe all the time, and I think that's good in League One. I guess it's more of a modern manager thing, really. Playing with wing backs, and I mean, you see it quite a lot nowadays, don't you? But I think he's just willing to take more of a risk and willing to change it if it's not going right. I think if, when Paul Cook was in charge, you could see it wasn't working and he wouldn't change anything and maybe bring Piggott on for the last 2 minutes and that'd be it. But I feel like with McKenna, he can look at a situation and look at a game and think, right, there's an area that we need to improve on. Let's try and, not make massive changes, but tweak the formations a tiny little bit in your favour. I think that's what McKenna is probably, really good at. And I hope that continues because I think that's an important thing in football these days, at least. But yeah, the fact that he managed to change the formation, he kind of played that 3-4-3 in the first half, changed it to a more of a 5 at the back in the second half to stop Wycombe, and that's what we need, isn't it? We need to be able to change our systems, and I'm pleased that he's done that.
Yeah, we need to be flexible.
Yes,
that's a word never been associated with Ipswich Town before. Flexible.
No, it hasn't.
I'm stunned. You can't see my face. I'm absolutely stunned. I just said flexible was a word for Ipswich Town. I've never put 2 and 2 together. But moving away from McKenna a little bit, we've got to look at the performance, and that was 2 standout performances from that win. One in attack and one in defence, or the whole defence, but one particular in defence. And firstly, in attack, James Norwood in the right place at the right time, as well. Stockdale just hit the ball really into his path, just parried it into his path. His third goal now in the last 4 games since being recalled back to the Ipswich Town side. And he received an absolute rapturous applause from the crowd when he was substituted off in the game. But Dan, he's at it again, Norwood. Nothing seems to be stopping him. He's providing the goods at a time where Town really do need the goals, with Bond sort of struggling to find a little bit forward moment and sort of not finding goals from anyone else on the pitch. He's at it again, scoring for fun. But surely now he's off that transfer list. He must be off that transfer list. And he's now got to be, what we can say is, first name on the team sheet, hopefully.
I mean, you'd say so, wouldn't you? After these past few games, he has to be off the transfer list now. You don't want to sell a player that keeps scoring goals. So, yeah, it's such a strange situation because it seemed like he wasn't wanted, didn't it? He was put on the transfer list. Paul Cook never played him. But then when Paul Cook left, Norwood tweeted that they had a good relationship. So is it, the owner's saying that he can't play, or is it the manager? But he's playing now with the same owners. So, yeah, that's such a weird situation with that. But I'm just glad that he's back. I've always rated him. I've kind of ignored what goes on off the pitch with Norwood. You can't look at that. You need to look at what he does on the pitch, and he's a goal scorer, and he's deadly in this league. It's unknown whether he can do it at a higher level, but in League One, I think he's deadly. So I'm so glad that he's back, and you'd expect him to be first name on the team sheet now. I'm sad that Bond's goals have kind of dried up because I thought he was brilliant the first half of the season. But you need them players. If one player isn't doing the bits, then another player comes in. I just feel sorry for Piggott a little bit. He hasn't really had his chance. Nor just coming in and stealing that, really. But no, he's scoring goals. He's scored 3 and 3 now, so you can't complain. He's back. He's back.
But funny stat for you, in the whole 2021, even though he's missed quite a lot of games, he scored 13 goals in 2021. I know he's had injuries and he's not played a lot of games, but that's pretty impressive stats.
It is.
For someone who's supposed to be out and has hardly ever played and is not favourite with the fans and all that rubbish and all that malarkey. But we better move to the defence. And, well, for the 5th time this season, Ipswich Town kept a clean sheet in the league. Yes, they've only kept 5 clean sheets this whole season. That's absolutely stunning. I didn't realize that's 5. But somebody who played a massive hand in that, especially the defence, they play a massive hand, but we want to focus on one man, is Václav Halanki, producing a string of catches and punches, keeping a clean sheet. Especially with strong rumours at the moment that Walton is going to possibly get a call up to Brighton. As far as we understand at this current moment in time, Ipswich Town are front runners at the moment to get him on a permanent basis after sort of beating Nottingham Forest to a deal. But that's only what the rumour mills say at the moment. And that might be wrong. By the time this show comes out, we do not know. But Halanki was in. Dan Walton, unfortunately, had COVID, so he had to step up. And what a performance, really, by Halanki. We've sort of seen a mishit performance, really, brought in as number 1 at the start of the summer after that brilliant season we had with Salford in League 2, winning, I think, their Player of the Year, Player of the Season, keeping all sorts of clean sheets, I think 20 plus, something crazy like that. But for him, he's putting a massive performance here in front of his new boss. And especially with these rumours about Walton at the moment, he might not be coming back, but it looks like he will be. But if Halanki's going to be putting these performances in, that's going to provide some competition for Walton. And McKenna might go, I might want to play Halanki a little bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's always good when you've got a competition for that goalkeeping spot. If you've got 2 keepers that are really good, the fighting for that, it's only a good thing. But yeah, Halanki's had a tough start to the season. Let's say he's made a few mistakes. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just the nerves of being in the league above. But I think maybe he was unfairly not given enough time before a replacement came in. He only had like 3 or 4 games, didn't he, before Walton came in? But Walton's been brilliant for us this season. So obviously he hasn't had his chance, but he's now come in, kept a clean sheet. Hats off to the defence as well for not giving Wycombe many chances, but of course, Halanki had a really good game, and it's obviously going to put some questions into McKenna's mind. I think Walton is still number 1, but we need a good goalkeeper for backup, and this performance can only help that. If we've got, if we've got a good, backup goalkeeper in Halanki, then we're set, aren't we? If an injury comes to Walton, or as you said, he had COVID, so he missed this game, or even if he is recalled, hopefully we have snatched up by someone else. Hopefully we have a good backup in Halanki, and he showed that in this game. So yeah, that can only be a good thing, and I hope he gets another chance because I'm sure Walton will be back on Saturday. But yeah, hopefully he'll get a chance, because I really want to see what he can do in a string of games, because he looks like a decent goalkeeper, really.
Yeah, I'm same as you. I want to see him do well in a string of games. I've only sort of seen him in bit parts, but I must apologise. I absolutely butchered his first name.
It's all right.
I tried to play it off. It's Václav Halanki. There you go. I said it now. Sorry, I butchered it. I should have learned. He's been here for now 6 months or
yes, yeah.
Less than I still can't say it. I can say that. Oh no, this is not good. I say Halanki. There you go.
Yeah, well, I always say Václav, but I think it's
Václav.
Yeah, but it's Václav, isn't it? Because his nickname is Sorry. I'm so sorry for butchering. We're not very good at pronouncing his name on this
No,
this show.
Please don't throw another element to this. I've only just learned this now.
Oh well.
Took me this
Yeah.
long on this.
If you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're truly sorry. We do absolutely love you, but we're truly sorry. Sorry. Well, we better now look forward to Ipswich Town. They are playing this Saturday. They have a big away day trip as Kieran Mckenna looks to make it 2 wins in a row and try and pull back this gap to the playoff places. As we said earlier, it is 11 points to 6th place, which is Plymouth Argyle at the moment. And well, who are they playing today? Well, they're playing Gillingham, who are the host, who got back into action after a COVID-19 postponement, which saw 3 games, including this one here, which was supposed to be played on Boxing Day, gets postponed. But however, Gillingham, they did play it on New Year's Day to a 0-0 draw against MK Dons. But Dan, Ipswich, they come into this game, they want to make it 2 wins out of 2 here for Kieran Mckenna, but they've had a bit of a stop-start festive period. But for Gillingham, who have had that stop-start period for them, they come into this game theoretically with more match fitness than Ipswich Town do. So will that play into their hands?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing in the football world that we live in now, isn't it? Some teams are going to have an advantage. It's going to be a really interesting game. I still think McKenna's style is a little bit unknown to people. We know how Steve Evans is. I'm sure there'll be fireworks with him.
Sorry, Steve Evans.
Yeah, but yeah. It's going to happen. It always does. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game. Gillingham obviously haven't been great this season. They sit in the bottom 4, which is quite surprising actually, considering they had quite a decent year last year. They were quite a good side. So, I think we go into it favourites, whether or not we have more match fitness, or we've had longer on the training pitch. So maybe that helps us in that way. But I'm confident after seeing what McKenna can do against Wycombe. He managed to contain them, who are, up the top in the top 6. So I think we'll be able to contain Gillingham. I'm very confident going into this game, and hopefully it's not too wet and cold for the away fans, because there's no roof on that away end at Gillingham. But hopefully they'll go home happy. I'm going to say it'll be a 2-0 win.
A 2-0 win. And make sure you bring your raincoat with you. I think that's what Dan's advice is. So Dan is going for a 2-0 win for Ipswich Town against Gillingham this Saturday. The game that's supposed to be played on Boxing Day is now being played on the 7th of January, the new Boxing Day now for Ipswich Town fans. So yeah, that's what he's going for. Let us know what you think on Twitter at Pitchside Talk. Do you think Dan is correct? Will Ipswich win by 2-0? Or are you a disgruntled Gillingham fan? Will Ipswich not win and Gillingham will, because they've had more match fitness and they need the points desperately? They are currently in a relegation battle of themselves at the moment. But when we come back, we'll be talking about the Premier League. Yes, game week number 21, the first one of the new year. And well, 2022 in the Premier League kicked off with a massive bang. So we'll see you after this. Sorry, I can't get my words right. After this.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, now before we move on talking about the Premier League game week number 21, this week, the first one in the brand new year of 2022. I better mention the social media Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram at Talkman's Pitch, usually and Mixcolour, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you've missed anything from today's show, do not worry. If you missed us talking about Ipswich Town in a lot of detail about the Wycombe game and Kieran Mckenna's first game in charge as the new Ipswich Town boss, do not worry. 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. This show will be up for you to listen back to whenever you like to, or listen back to in the evening if you've got some spare time. Listen to it in the evening. Let's talk about Ipswich Town and the Premier League. But now we can move on and talk about the Premier League. And well, it has been a roller coaster ride quite recently in the Premier League. And this game week did not disappoint with the games we had, which have been coming thick and fast in the very heavily interrupted period, with postponements left, right, and centre in the festive Christmas period. Over 10 games got cancelled over the Christmas period. But as we head into New Year's Day, we had a can't remember how many games actually we had. This is really bad of me. Let me just have a quick think. We had 8 games played. 8 games. I was about to say 9, but it's 8 games played over the New Year's Day period. So let's have a look at these results. And starting off the new year, we had Arsenal versus Man City, and Man City won that 2-1. Watford, they lost to Spurs in the 95th minute in a 1-0 defeat. And West Ham got off to a winning start with a 3-2 win over Crystal Palace. And then for the games for Sunday, Brentford, they got back to winning ways, winning 2-1 against Aston Villa. Everton lost 2-3 to Brighton at Goodison Park. Not looking very good at Goodison Park for Rafa Benitez. Leeds, they got back to winning ways in a crucial victory over Burnley in 3-1. And then Chelsea versus Liverpool, that draw 2-2 in an absolute classic, probably to be remembered for years to come. And then Manchester United versus Wolves for Monday Night Football. Wolves walked away with a 1-0 win at Old Trafford, which is not very gone down very well with the Old Trafford faithful. And Manchester United looking a little bit in turmoil at the moment, if you like to read the rumours. But Dan, we better start off with 2022. It started off with a massive bang. Man City snatching all 3 points against Arsenal with a stoppage time winner, thanks to Rodri, which sends Man City clear at the top of the table by 10 points over second place. But this really sort of shows that the luck Man City have got here when you're defending a title. You need that little bit of sparkle, that little bit of luck. The ball falls you in the right place and you get into the back of the net. But this is a big win now. But with that gap, is it too big now to catch the defending champions who look like they're going to add now another crown to their Premier League cabinet?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, your team being, 10 points clear going into the new year, you'd say that you can't really do anything to stop them. But you can't say for sure, obviously, because we all know what the Premier League's like. Let's see what happens. But it puts Man City in a fantastic position. And as you said, that's what it comes down to is fine margins. And if the ball falls to you in the right place at the right time, if that goal didn't go in, we'd be having a completely different conversation after these games, wouldn't we? So it's fine margins in any league, and Man City have got that one bit of luck that puts them that far clear in the league table. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for teams below them to catch up. But you can't say that it's not going to happen, because it might. But you can't deny the fact that Man City look like they're going straight for another title, can you? You just can't. It's hard to look any other way, really.
No, you can't. But with that side there, they were 1-0 down at one point, and we have to remember they Arsenal in August, and they absolutely demolished them, a 5-0 victory for Man City on the day. Does it sort of show the level of improvements here of Arsenal as well? They unfortunately didn't have Arteta on the sidelines due to COVID-19 out with a positive test. But does this show that Arsenal have actually made steps in the right direction? It might not have been a win, and they might have done what a lot of fans have called the typical Arsenal causing all their own problems. But this is a much better performance of what we saw back in August, only 5 months ago.
Yeah, there's been an absolutely huge improvement from Arsenal. They've had a real insurgence, really, haven't they? I think they were so poor at the start of this year, and we were all saying how, I think I even said that Arteta wouldn't last long. It hasn't turned out that way, and they now sit in the top 4, which is absolutely crazy. In this game, even though it was a loss, shows how much they've really improved. And with teams like Tottenham and Man United not performing, and Leicester not being there as well in the top 4 this year, it gives them a really good chance, doesn't it? West Ham are behind them. Are they going to stick it out in the top, the top 5 or 6? Don't know about that. They have been looking good this year, but I think this is a really good chance for Arsenal to get a top four spot. Will their fans be happy with that? Probably, but you never know with Arsenal fans. Know what they're like. But yeah, I think they'd be okay finishing behind the top 3. But yeah, it's been a really good improvement from Arsenal, and I think it's good to see that they're finally playing some good football, even though this is a loss. But it's going to be hard to playing against Man City. Well, whatever time you play against them, isn't it?
Yes, it'll be very hard. Whenever you play against it is always a tough game against Man City. There's no denying that. And well, on Sunday, we saw a massive clash for the New Year's Day game, second of the third, as Chelsea and Liverpool met at Stamford Bridge. And whoever won this game would have put themselves in pole position in trying to catch Manchester City, would have put that gap down to, I can't think off the top of my head, I think it would have been down to 8 points if one of these sides won. But we absolutely saw a cracker of a game, an absolute classic that would go down. I think it'll go down this game in Premier League history. Maybe the first half, not the second half as much, but the first half will, as Chelsea came back from 2 goals down to earn a draw against Liverpool as the game ended 2-2 on the night, giving, Man City the biggest winners out of all of them, only reducing their gap down to 10 points. But Dan, we're going to start off with Chelsea first. A very good comeback by them after a lot of noise was surrounding the club and the game after Lukaku's very controversial interview where he basically admitted that he was not very happy at Chelsea and he really, really, really wanted to go back to Inter and he never wanted to leave Inter. But that's what Lukaku said, which saw him drop by Tuchel. But with all the noise surrounding it, Chelsea, they got a performance out of it. But do you think if they didn't have this noise around them, they could have snatched all 3 points here?
Yeah, maybe they could. You can't say for sure, but obviously Lukaku is a big miss for them. We know what type of goal scorer he is. So yeah, maybe he would have been a miss, but I think the game was fantastic, and Chelsea did amazing to come back from that from 2-0 behind. At the time Liverpool looked like they were in control when Salah put that effort in the net, and you'd say Chelsea were out of this game, but to come back, I found unbelievable goal from Kovacic, the first one. On the volley, it's amazing finish. Couldn't believe that goal actually, but yeah, and then for Pulisic to get that second as well is with a great finish, and the intensity of that game was fantastic. You don't see games with that intensity for long periods of time, and especially the first half, it was just gung ho, wasn't it? The whole half, we didn't stop, end to end, and it was a brilliant game. And yeah, as you say, Chelsea, very good comeback in the end, and maybe could have won it in the end if Lukaku was on the pitch, but we'll never know.
I was just about to ask you that next question, because before this interview happened, which apparently was recorded in mid-December, Lukaku did come back to the squad in mid-December. And in the last 2 games, he had got 2 goals and an assist for Chelsea. Do you feel if he was in the squad this day, it was a big gamble by Thomas Tuchel, which maybe did pay off in the theoretical terms of getting a draw and getting back, but did Chelsea maybe lack his clinical finish, his style? We all know Lukaku is a good goal scorer. He's a big goal scorer. Did that maybe just lack with Chelsea a little bit in that second half of the period? They needed that goal score just to get them over the line and get those 3 points.
Yeah, maybe that was the determining factor. And, no matter how well you play, you're always going to struggle to score goals when you're not playing a natural striker, aren't you? They scored 2, fantastic goals, and maybe they just needed that little bit of luck where a striker would come in, right place, right time, and put it in the net. And they had a few chances in the second half that they could have maybe benefited with Lukaku being on the pitch. But, Tuchel made that decision. And as you said, maybe it did pay off really in theoretical terms. But yeah, that's an interesting point, whether they could have, got through that game with all 3 points. And you're not going to know, but you could look at it and say Lukaku is a perfect fit for that position and would score goals there no matter, it would just happen because he's that type of player. So, if it was 2-2 in that second half and Lukaku came off the bench, you'd put your money on him scoring, wouldn't you? So yeah. It's all about hypothetical, isn't it? Whether he it could have been on. He wasn't. They got a draw out of it. Game could have gone either way. And I guess we just move on from there.
Yeah, it'd be a case of what could have been, really. What could have been. Yeah. We can always say what could have been, really. But unfortunately, that's what happened for Chelsea. But for Liverpool now, do you think they'll feel a little bit frustrated to have drawn this game after leading? But beforehand, do you think they would have taken that result of a draw because of the COVID-19 outbreak they've got? 3 key players out, staff members out. Jurgen Klopp himself out of the game, which is for Liverpool is a big loss having Jurgen Klopp out because that's sort of the big voice gone. And do you feel if he was there, Jurgen Klopp, maybe they would have got this across the line and they wouldn't concede 2 goals. They might concede 1. Maybe Kovacic is absolute scream. I don't think anybody could stop that, unfortunately. But do you feel if they had Jurgen Klopp on the side, this could be another case of what could have been? Liverpool could be 3 points and could be chasing down now Man City with 2 games in hand.
Yeah, it could have been. It's another. There we go. Another hypothetical situation, isn't it? But we know what difference Klopp has on the sidelines. You know how animated he is, and you know it must make a difference to the players on the pitch. So him not being there is probably going to be a big miss for Liverpool. Going into the game, they probably would have taken a draw. Wanted a win, but taken a draw. But then going 2-0 up, whatever game you're in, if you're 2-0 up, you don't want to concede to and let that slip, especially in the same half. You just don't want to do that. So, yeah, I think during the game, I think Liverpool will feel really frustrated they didn't get 3 points from it. Could have done more in the second half to try and get that winner because the game was on a knife edge. It could have gone either way, really. So they could have, created a chance that could have given them 3 points. But in the end, I think a draw was a fair result. Both teams were going at it. Both teams were showing quality. And I think a draw was a fair result. I just think that the 2-0, the fact that Liverpool were 2-0 ahead is going to be the most frustrating thing, that they let that 2-0 lead slip, which, you don't want to do, especially if you're fighting for a title and Man City are, pulling away with it in the league table. So, yeah, I think a draw was probably a terrible result for both clubs. Only for Man City, it was a good result.
I think
I don't think both teams really wanted a draw.
No, I think the only thing we can sort of agree here from this section is that Man City are the biggest winners regardless.
Yeah, they definitely are.
they didn't even play, but they were the biggest winners. That's just football for you. Well, that is all for the Premier League section this week. As I better mention, we have got some Premier League games coming up soon. There's some games happening on the 11th of January and the 12th of January, as now the Premier League starts to try and reschedule this Premier League season from the games that have been postponed. So we have got games on Tuesday 11th as Southampton take on Brentford, wrong team. Brentford, and Everton versus Leicester. And on Wednesday, we have West Ham versus Norwich City as they try to now rearrange these games, which is going to be interesting to see. But before we go, we better mention some very quick transfer news because we are now in the January transfer window. Yes, the window is now open, and we better mention some quick news before we go. Just have a quick look at it. So we've got Newcastle United. Looks like they're close to signing their first player of the transfer window. Who could it be? Kieran Trippier on a £12 million fee from Atletico Madrid. Yes, the English right back, the 31 right back, is set to become Newcastle's first signing under the new ownership, and the first one for Eddie Howe since he took over in November. A £12 million plus add-on fees. Dan, good signing, do you think?
I can't help but be a little bit underwhelmed, but I think it'll be a good signing in the grand scheme of things for Newcastle. He's not a bad player, is he? But I just thought that they'd be focusing on other areas of the pitch. Attacking is they need new signings there because they're not scoring goals. But no, he's a decent player. Not the most exciting signing, but I think he'll probably do well for Newcastle. But let's wait and see.
Yes, let's wait and see. And well, continuing with another team that play in black and white, that is Juventus. And Allegri has confirmed that Aaron Ramsey will leave the club, describing the Welsh midfielder as an outgoing player. There is reports circling around that he has rejected a formal approach by Burnley, but also he is linked with a move to his former club, Arsenal, and also to Newcastle United. So he could be playing up with Kieran Trippier soon. I'll be liking to see some link-up play between Trippier and Ramsey. I think that might be a quite good combination.
Yeah, it could be. We all know what type of player Ramsey is like, and hasn't played long for Juventus. Well, I can't remember when he joined now. It's probably
2019.
Yeah, so actually it's quite longer than I thought, actually. But, we know what type of player Ramsey is, and he's a really decent player on his day. So it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal, I can't see him going back to Arsenal. I don't think they really need him at the moment. So if he goes to Newcastle, I think that'll be a really good signing for Newcastle and help them get out of this relegation scrap. And let's see how we're expecting Newcastle to make loads of signings this transfer window, aren't we, really?
And finally, before we go, we have one more bit of transfer rumours / links, and that is Philippe Coutinho. Yes, Philippe Coutinho. Ever since he joined Barcelona, it has been a very horrible time for the Brazilian midfielder, but it looks like he might have a way out as Aston Villa are keeping an eye on him. One of the many Premier clubs keeping an eye on him who are linked. As we all know, Steven Gerrard used to play with Coutinho. He's a huge admirer of the Brazilian midfielder, but Barcelona are looking to get rid of him as they need the free wage to register their new signing Ferran Torres as a player, as they're unable to register the Spanish midfielder who signed for Man City for £55 million at the start of the window. Dan, Coutinho, we all know about his situation. Never know where he's going to be going. But if he went to Villa, it might be a step down for him, but that could be a chance for him to reboot his career again.
Yeah, it definitely is. We all know what type of player he can be. And it just hasn't gone well for him at Barcelona. And if he, as you said, if he goes to Aston Villa, it's going to be a step down. But he's going to be playing every game, isn't he? It's not like he's going to be on the sidelines and he's being managed by Gerrard. As you say, they played together before. So I think that would be a good move for him, and a really good move for Villa as well. I think a really good signing for them. So yeah, I think it'll be good all round. Really, he'll get game time, and that could, bring his career back to life, because it's kind of just gone into a rut at this present moment in time. But Barcelona want to leave, and I think if he wants to get football, he's gonna have to go a step down, because I can't really see anyone wanting him, really, especially in the Premier League. So if you can go to Villa, that'll be a great signing for them, and good for him as well, I think.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. And that is all the news we have for the transfer roundup this week. And that is now the end of the show. We've reached the end of the show. The referee is not going to give us any more extra time, stoppage time, because VAR said no. And, well, we all know what the referees are like. They're a little bit dodgy sometimes. I didn't say that out loud. But Dan, I want to thank you very much for being on the show this week. I'll see you next week as always when we talk about Ipswich Town. As always, we'll be talking about their game against Gillingham. Kieran Mckenna's first away game day as an Ipswich Town manager. I can't wait to see that. Can you?
No, I can't wait. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully 3 points. I'm pretty confident. But yeah,
hopefully,
I'll be here next week.
That's good. Let's hopefully those 2,000 travelling Ipswich fans get a good result. They get to go and see a good game. And before I go, Ben mentioned the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud both at Pitchside Talk. And do not worry if you missed anything from today's show. It'll be up in the next few minutes, 6 p.m. on Friday, and the YouTube Mixcloud. It'll be up if you want to listen to talk about Ipswich Town, Premier League, and some transfer rumours this week if you just joined the show in the last few minutes. So I've been George as always. He has been Dan. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.